pausing. You got this, Kristen, because who cares? Nobody's really listening. Hello again. I was off to a early start, and I needed to pause because didn't have everything figured out. My name is Kristen Voss, and I am the founder for the Center for Caregiver Serenity, and I'm a member of the Wisconsin Family and Caregiver Support Alliance. Together, we decided to start this YouTube channel, Caregiver Connections, as a way for me to have a place where caregivers can talk with other caregivers. What does that mean to be a family caregiver? That means you're somebody who's taking care of someone in your life. It can literally be someone in your family, but it also could be a friend, a neighbor, a stepchild, somebody that's got complex medical needs, disabilities, or some type of other challenges that make living on their own independently a bit challenging. And so you're the person who steps in, and maybe you take them to appointments. Maybe you actually help them with daily living skills like toileting and bathing, or maybe you're just a resource to help them figure out how to navigate all of the crazy red tape that we go through in this country for our healthcare and for social services and all other types of resources. So family caregivers there's lots of us. 1 in 4 Americans is a family caregiver. Rosalind Carter has a famous quote. I'm not going to get it right, but it's basically that everyone's either going to be a caregiver, need a caregiver, or want a caregiver. And so with that said, this is a topic that is bipartisan. It's a topic that touches many, many people. It probably touches you. And if it doesn't yet, it might. 1 in 4, that's a lot of people, right? And so these are the folks that are kind of what we call the invisible population. They're the ones that are holding up a lot of the healthcare and emotional and physical support that other folks in our country need. But they don't always get the recognition, meaning they don't even sometimes recognize themselves as family caregivers. They think this is what I'm supposed to do as a mom. This is what I would be expected to do as a brother, right? And so when we are in those family roles, it is important that we recognize that this is stuff that we do because of our role in the family, but it's also an extra challenge. It's an extra expectation, and it's having an impact on us individuals in a way that we might not be paying attention to. And so November is National Family Caregiver Month, and Wisconsin Family Caregiver Support Alliance decided to do a lot of things to launch November and raise awareness about what caregivers are going through. That's where this live stream came up in my mind as a great thing to do. It's been fun, but I won't lie, you'll hear me complain a bit about the technology and the learning curve. It's a good thing though, right? As a retired teacher, I know that I want to always be a lifelong learner. I just didn't think I wanted to be learning about YouTube, but here I am, and I'm making the best of it. Why do I think I can talk to family caregivers about family caregiving experience? Well, I have a 24-year-old daughter who has autism, epilepsy, and an intellectual disability. So I am her primary family caregiver. I am also her mother and her legal guardian. So there's a lot of different roles and crossover that I experience. I also was fortunate enough to live fairly close to my parents, that I didn't do a lot of the daily cares for them when they were going through some chronic illness conditions and then passing on to, the next phase. But I was able to do long distance caregiving. And because of my experience in the healthcare system with my daughter and some of my own health challenges, I was able to help my brother and sister support my parents through that aspect of their chronic illnesses. So I feel like I've got some experience, and I want to advocate for and support and celebrate family caregivers. So I have been working in this capacity of starting a business to support family caregivers as a way to recognize my next chapter of what I want to do as a retired teacher. What we're going to talk about today, though, is not my whole life experience because though it may be interesting to some, it's probably not that interesting for all. And many of you know what I'm experiencing because you're experiencing it yourself, and you may be experiencing even greater challenges. So, what we've decided to do with National Family Caregiver Month is we've chosen each of the 4 weeks to focus on one topic. How do we come up with these topics? There was a statewide survey done here in Wisconsin, and in that survey, there were unmet needs of family caregivers identified. The top four are what we chose to do our themes on. So last week, I talked about free time, and I did that from the postcard collection, or excuse me, the In Care of postcard exhibit on campus that helped me understand some of the wording that I want to experience and share as a family caregiver, and also how to figure out the value and importance of free time. Today, I'm talking about paid respite. Next week, I'll be talking about social time with family and friends. And the last week, I'll be talking about how to ask for help. You can see how intertwined all four of those unmet needs are, and I can see it as well. But today, I want to make sure that I have an opportunity to talk about what respite is, why it's important, and how to get it. Respite period, I'm going to use an actual definition from Google AI world, what we used to call the dictionary. Respite care is a temporary period of relief for caregivers of individuals with chronic illnesses, disabilities, or aging related needs. It provides a break from the demands of providing ongoing care, allowing caregivers to recharge and maintain their well being. So, respite is something that looks different for all different kinds of people. For the kind of old school, more traditional vision of respite, when people were getting an opportunity to get respite from the care recipients they were taking care of, they would go away to a weekend, like a retreat or a camp, or maybe have the opportunity to just spend some time with other parts of the family, other members of the family. And then additional people, either paid respite people who didn't know the care recipient personally, or other family members who are not necessarily primary caregivers, but could come step in for that weekend. That doesn't always work that way for every family, right? And some of that might be the family caregiver's situation. They might also be working outside the house. The care recipient might not feel comfortable with an outsider coming in. The family caregiver might not feel comfortable with that. So caregiving has changed and shifted as more and more of us have become family caregivers. And so paid respite has also shifted. So for some folks, it literally might just be an hour or two a week to be able to go run errands. But we would suggest that you take that time more for yourself. Go for a walk, have a cup of coffee, go take a class, sit in nature, drive in your car and listen to music and jam out. Like whatever it is you need to recharge yourself, the paid respite is the piece that gives you the opportunity to do that without it being an extra burden for you to figure out how to fill that time frame. Why should we do this? Why should we get these breaks from caregiving responsibilities? Because this is a hard job. This is a hard role to be in, especially with all the other roles you're in. And especially when you're somebody who's had a family relationship or a friendship with that person that's outside of the caregiving one. Those lines start to blur and resentment start to build. Tension grows. Burnout starts to happen. And we can't have burnout for some of our family caregivers because that's the only person who can take care of the care recipient. And so we need to find ways to make sure that we're preventing caregiver burnout and helping caregivers improve their own health. And then by using a paid respite source and by using people that have gone before you, we're also ensuring that the care recipient is getting the right kind of care and appropriate based on their situation and the caregiver situation. Because there's different types of respite care. 4 types that I'm checking out in my notes here, right? One is in-home respite. So that's somebody who comes into the home where the family caregiver and the care recipient are. And this can be either from professionals or volunteers. Or you may be able to get grants where you have some funds that you can pay volunteers, meaning the the young college kid down the block, right? Who's looking for some extra cash and has always known your mom because she's lived down the block. So she's got a relationship and is able and comfortable to come in and support some of the assistance your mom might need with her dementia care or any of her other challenges, while you get an opportunity to go play a game of pickleball or, again, take a walk or whatever it is that you need to do to help yourself recharge. There also are adult daycares. So there's places where care recipients can spend the day at a facility and they're with other people. And so it's an opportunity for them to have social interaction with other care recipients. This is really big in the dementia community. And they're also able to, in the adult daycare centers, be able to provide some medical assistance and structured activities with staff who understand how to work with somebody who's got some of the challenges of our various folks. There's also nursing home respite where care recipients can stay in a nursing home for a short period of time. So again, that you can get maybe a temporary but a longer chunk of time as a respite. And then there's behavioral respite. This is care that's provided for individuals with challenging behaviors or mental health issues. Those are a little bit harder to find, but they are out there. And because the need is growing, the response is also growing too. I really want to stress what I got out of a conversation today when I was talking with some of the respite care professionals. And it was the idea that we've all heard, yes, you got to take care of yourself so you can take care of your care recipient. Just like we hear in the airplane, you've got to put on your oxygen mask before you put it on your kid because you have to be able to breathe to be able to take care of your kid in the case of an emergency. I got tired of that analogy. I won't lie. I was like, oh, I don't want to hear about the stupid mask one more minute of my life. But I ended up in some bad situations. I ended up with some pretty profound health complications, being a type 2 diabetic and having some pretty profound anxiety. And so then I realized I had to start listening, right? I couldn't be this like superwoman who thought I could do everything because I couldn't do everything. And it was taking a toll on me. And when it's taking a toll on me, then the ship starts to go down, right? Because I'm the captain of the ship. And I don't want the ship to go down for Nicole. And I also don't want it to go down for my other kiddo, her brother, Andy, who is neurotypical. So in the name of protecting my kids, I had to start taking care of myself. And I had to do that in a way that wasn't just an oxygen mask, but was a little bit more honest and real about what this relationship and what this level of stress as her family caregiver was doing to me, and then also how it was impacting the way I was relating with her. So one of the number one things that came out of my meeting today that really resonated with me and ended up actually giving me the chills was the idea that when we take respite, if we can't do it for ourselves, if we think, no, 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 I have to do it all, or I have to be the one that's always there, and we aren't seeing that it's taking the toll on ourselves, we actually have to do it for our care recipient. They need a respite from us too. Nicole went away to Easter Seals weekend camps, Badger camp, um, all kinds of respite opportunities that I've gotten through the years. And it was an opportunity for her to get a break from me. Not only was it an opportunity for me to get a break and recharge and have a few hours or a weekend to spend with her brother, her dad, my friends, just time alone, but it also gave her an opportunity to get used to other people taking care of her and people that were a little bit lighter, a little bit more fun because they weren't doing this 24/7 day after day. And I could see that benefit for her every time she came home from camp. And I realized even this past weekend, I had her with me. And I've been really intentional since I've been working with all this caregiver stuff on separating time as both her mom from when I'm her caregiver. I haven't been very explicit about it. So by the end of the weekend, when it came time to be her caregiver again and tell her to turn on her phone and go to bed, we exploded into a huge fight that's very typical of where we've been for many years. But we'd worked out a lot of that. And I thought, oh, we had such a great weekend. We baked cookies. She said, I want family time. I want everyone to sit down for dinner and I want to play with my sight words. And then she actually even cleaned up the kitchen without being asked, which is like never happens. And so it was such an awesome Sunday. And it was such an opportunity where I got to feel like Nicole's mom and not her caregiver. But then because I didn't take a break for myself this weekend, and because I didn't make it clear to her, I am your mom, but now I also have to be your caregiver. And so, in order to help you have good health hygiene, right? In order to help you get to sleep so that you can get up tomorrow and that you can have some regular sleeping patterns so that you don't end up with seizures, we have to take the phone, turn off the light, and go to bed. And she didn't like that. So I think all of this is helping me recognize that respite may be literally 5 minutes out on the porch, taking a deep breath, looking at the stars. I love the moon, and saying, okay, now I'm going to go be a caregiver, and I'm going to make it clear to her that I'm being her caregiver, not her mom and her mom. I guess it doesn't have to be this either or. And that was really clear when we were watching. We screened a clip from the caregiving documentary that Bradley Cooper's done, and it's out on PBS. And in there was this awesome woman who's taking care of her dad that has dementia and some really significant physical impacts as a result. So he's in bed the majority of the day and he's pretty paralyzed, and he needs a lot of hands-on care. And when they were interviewing her, she said, when I'm in that mode, I'm the caregiver, and I'm still very kind and very, soft and gentle and telling him what I'm going to do, but I'm also very clear and direct about what has to happen. And then each day she does a very intentional move of putting her dad, with help from her husband, I think, into a lift that then helps shift him from the bed to the table. And then she sits down and says, now I'm his daughter. Now I play crossword puzzles with him, or we just sit and talk, or we look out the window, or we watch TV, or we look at old pictures. And I was like, that's when it hit me that I really needed to see that separation, and then also understand that I needed to do things to help myself get that respite so I could shift gears. Highly recommend it for everybody. There's a couple slides that I want to show, and then I'm about ready to wrap it up here. But these slides came from the Respite Care Association of Wisconsin. They show why it's important. Look at this, physical health issues, because we are having these experiences as somebody who's a family caregiver over a long period of time. We have fatigue and poor sleep. We have high blood pressure, heart disease, weakened immune systems, frequent physical distress, obesity, diabetes, asthma, COPD, and arthritis are more prevalent in caregivers than non-caregivers. As a type 2 diabetic, that really struck home. We also experience a lot of our own physical injury risk, poor nutrition, skipped health checks. 1 in 4 caregivers report fair or poor health. Not good stuff. And it also is impacting our mental and emotional health, chronic stress, emotional exhaustion, and that burnout. That is real, and we have to be honest about that with ourselves and our loved ones. If you're somebody who knows a family caregiver or has a partner who's a family caregiver, it's also important for you to see this stuff and be able to help them see it in a gentle, supportive manner. There's a lot of social isolation and loneliness. There's a lot of increased mortality risk. This is the dark side, but it's a really important thing to consider. Caregivers have up to a 63% higher death risk because of the sustained strain. And imagine, not only is that tragic for yourself, but it is for your care recipient too, because what's going to happen if you fall before they do? Again, dark, but important. And then this last bit, again, just stressing the benefits of respite care. It boosts our health. It allows the primary caregiver to maintain a sense of identity so that resentment doesn't build up too much. It reduces the friction between the caregiver and the care recipient. It decreases institutional placements, which is what might happen if you go down hard. And it prevents bad habits. I looked at that for a minute and I thought, what does that mean? And I realized it might mean, I have to look at my wine drinking, right? That my bad habits might be that I like my wine and maybe I'm starting to like it too much because of the stress. Maybe you're eating too much chocolate. Maybe you're watching too much TV. Maybe we're all doing things a little bit more than we should be to numb out because we're overwhelmed, we're stressed, we're tired. I don't want to be on any kind of platform here to preach to you to, be pure, but I also want to just talk about the realities of how important it is for us to see ourselves as caregivers and to take care of ourselves. And one of the key steps in doing that is reaching out and getting paid respite care. How do we do that? I'm going to put in the comments below how we can access different things. But the most important piece of advice they gave me this morning was to tell everybody to lean into your Aging and Disability Resource Center, find the people there that are actually directed to be coordinators of caregiver support and dementia care specialists. They understand some of the programs that are out there. It's an individual basis in order to determine like what kind of money you can get for paid respite and how much and when. So it's really important to make that contact with that person for yourself. I've reached out to the ADRC for my daughter, but I never thought about it for myself. So I reached out last week and she said, "Yep, we're going to meet and put you on a waiting list." And then there is a Respite Care Association here in Wisconsin. It's also a nationwide organization and they have opportunities as well, but reaching out to both the ADRC or your county social worker if you're in any of the county programs for kids under 18. So if you're supporting a kid with disability or a complex medical issue that is not in the adult range, because ADRCs support adults. And then I will again put the resources in the comments below. Two other quick shout outs. We're coming up on 20 minutes, so I want to wrap this up. But I was supposed to be at the Capitol today so that we could talk to the legislators about how important it is to understand our needs and support our question, or sorry, our I don't want to say demands. What do I want to say? Support our requests. And one of the number one requests that we can ask of legislators that's very tangible is for them to support legislation that continues to fund and funds additional respite opportunities for family caregivers. Couldn't make it to the Capitol because I don't understand YouTube. I don't understand how to continue to be balancing my work and my caregiving responsibilities. So, you know what I decided? I'm going to give myself some grace. I tell you all to give yourselves grace. I tell so many people in my life, hey, you don't have to be perfect. And I realized I couldn't make it to the Capitol today, but I could actually live stream from here today, talk about this a little bit, and set up an opportunity for us to start advocating down the road. And then I would be remiss if I didn't point out that it is Veterans Day. It's an important day to recognize another group of people who disproportionately represent folks who need caregivers, because our veterans have gone through a lot and many of them have physical and mental health challenges as a result of their service. I think it's really important today, if you know a veteran, reach out and say thank you. They've all sacrificed a lot, even if they don't have any disabilities and need a caregiver. And if you don't know someone, then it's really important, I think, for all of us to just take a moment, pause, and express some gratitude just out into the universe for the fact that we are really fortunate for what our veterans have done for us. And if you are a veteran or a caregiver to a veteran, there are even more resources specifically for you. And I'll put links in the comments below. Please subscribe to my channel. I need 50 subscribers or more to be able to go mobile. That's why I couldn't go to the to the Capitol today. So please just subscribe and then send this on to anybody else you know and ask them to subscribe. And the more that we get the word out, the more people that we can support. So share it with other family caregivers and tune in next Tuesday. I will be in Milwaukee with a group of family caregivers talking about that other unmet social need. Unmet need, social time with friends and family. We're going to have some chats, some coffee, some breakfast goodies, and then be able to go out in nature. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for your support. Happy National Family Caregiver Month.